It might seem, well, counterintuitive, but amidst all the ongoing turmoil, a strong tradition of academic inquiry has somehow not only survived, but in many ways actually thrived. Today, we're diving into the really compelling story of Palestinian scholarship, its, surprising history, and the significant hurdles it still faces. For you, our listener, especially if you want to gain deep understanding efficiently, we're about to unpack a truly multifaceted situation.
Indeed. We're taking a close look at the presence and the very real challenges within Palestinian academic and scientific publishing. Our main lens for this is a fascinating article by Majd Abu Alrob, published just this month, May 2025. And this piece, it expertly outlines the historical roots, the persistent issues around recognition, the substantial material obstacles imposed by the occupation, and, crucially, the remarkable resilience of Palestinian scholars.
Yeah, our goal today is really to provide you with a clear, insightful understanding of this complex narrative. We want to go beyond just, the findings and explore the human story and the systemic barriers. And to guide us, we have our expert contributor who brings that valuable ability to connect seemingly disparate pieces and offer that crucial context. Okay, let's get into it. Where do the foundations of Palestinian scholarship even lie? I mean, historically.
Well, what's truly interesting is that despite periods of, well, significant upheaval, the groundwork for modern Palestinian education was laid surprisingly early. We're talking the 20th century. Even before the establishment of a formal state, there was this clear, demonstrable commitment to intellectual growth.
And this wasn't just happening in isolation, was it? We're talking about intellectuals who were engaging globally, making real contributions. What can their impact tell us?
Exactly. You look at figures like Edward Said, born in Jerusalem, became this, towering figure in post-colonial studies, his work resonating everywhere. Or Hanan Ashrawi, a distinguished literature scholar who also became a really prominent political voice. Their international recognition, even quite early on, it underscores the significant underlying strength in Palestinian intellectual thought and its capacity to engage with global discourses.
So while individuals were making their mark, what about the actual infrastructure? The support systems needed to disseminate this work more broadly. Were there established avenues?
Yes, and this is a critical aspect. Even without a formal state, Palestinians took steps to create their own platforms. The establishment of the Institute for Palestine Studies in 1963, that was pivotal. And maybe even more impactful was the launch of the Journal of Palestine Studies in 1971. This was the first English-language academic journal specifically focused on Palestinian affairs in the Arab-Israeli conflict. Its very existence, it signaled this determined effort to produce and share knowledge about Palestine to a global audience, offering a Palestinian perspective on issues that, might otherwise be framed totally differently.
A dedicated journal, yeah, that's a strong statement. But what about educating the next generation, future scholars within Palestine itself? How did that evolve?
Right, so that development took shape mainly in the 1970s, and this was during the Israeli occupation. This period saw the establishment of the first Palestinian universities in the West Bank and Gaza, places like Birzeit University and Narja National University, the Islamic University of Gaza. Initially, there was perhaps a view within some Israeli circles that fostering these universities might somehow, I don't know, normalize the occupation. But these institutions, they quickly transformed into these dynamic centers of learning and also became hubs for Palestinian political mobilization. They played a crucial role in developing a professional class, even with the occupation's limited job market. By educating a new generation, these universities maybe inadvertently also nurtured a spirit of resistance.
Which, like you said, probably wasn't the intended outcome. So how did the occupying authorities react to these increasingly influential places?
Well, predictably, the Israeli authorities started viewing these universities with suspicion. During the First Intifada, which was roughly 87 to 93, severe restrictions were imposed. Military orders led to frequent, prolonged closures of schools, university campuses, effectively making formal education illegal for long stretches. Birzeit University, for instance, it was almost continuously closed between 1988 and 1992, but the commitment to education just remained incredibly strong. Teaching went underground, clandestine classes were organized in homes, community spaces. This act of continuing to learn became this powerful form of sumud, steadfastness. Then, following the Oslo Accords in the 90s, there was some opportunity for rebuilding. And despite, well, the ongoing challenges, there are now over a dozen universities in the West Bank and several in Gaza. It's really a testament to resilience.
It truly is a powerful illustration of dedication. Okay, so against this backdrop, we start to see the complexities, not just of doing the scholarly work, but also getting it, and the scholars themselves, recognized internationally. This brings us to the often tricky issue of how Palestine is treated in academic publishing. It sounds like it's far from straightforward.
That's certainly an accurate assessment, yeah. The recognition of Palestine as a legitimate affiliation, it's been marked by significant inconsistencies and often a noticeable reluctance. Over the years, the way journals and databases have listed affiliations for authors from the Palestinian territories has varied, well, considerably.
How specifically, could you give us some concrete examples just to help our listener picture it?
Sure. In many cases, Palestine just wasn't an option in the standard country list when you submit a paper. Instead, you'd see alternative terms like West Bank and Gaza or occupied Palestinian territory. For example, Idorium journals, on its list for fee waivers, it includes West Bank and Gaza Strip, Palestine. That parenthetical inclusion, it sort of suggests a need for qualification, right? Similarly, especially in earlier publications, many publishers used UN terminology, listing addresses within the occupied Palestinian territory, or OPT. A 2010 Lancet publication, for instance, cited the affiliation as Bursite University, West Bank, Occupied Palestinian Territory. Now, while that's politically descriptive, it avoids using Palestine itself. And for Palestinian scholars, that can feel like an erasure of identity.
That subtle avoidance of the name Palestine, that seems significant. But I gather the issue goes even deeper sometimes.
Yes, unfortunately. There have been more concerning cases where Palestinian affiliations were entirely subsumed under Israel, or sometimes just completely omitted. A study looking at Palestinian research output highlighted how some international journals just didn't recognize Palestine as separate. This meant publications by Palestinian authors were wrongly categorized under Israel. And this isn't just about identity, it also messes up what we call bibliometric data.
Right, the stats on publications and citations.
Exactly. It makes it harder to accurately track and assess the distinct contributions of Palestinian scholars. The same study noted that older versions of academic search engines, like Web of Science, sometimes only offered Israel for addresses in the West Bank and Gaza. This forced Palestinian academics to find workarounds listing Palestinian Authority, explicitly adding Palestinian in their address details, or using occupied Palestinian territory when there wasn't a proper country field.
Wow, so they've had to actively navigate these systemic hurdles just to get their origin acknowledged in their own work. Has there been any progress on this, any improvement in recognition?
Thankfully, yes, there has been some progress, though it's not entirely uniform. Major indexing databases like Scopus, they now recognize Palestine as distinct. They even assign it a specific country code. And that's been crucial for allowing a more accurate count of Palestinian research output. Plus, many journals today are more accepting of State of Palestine or just Palestine in affiliations, especially after the Palestinian Authority's UN status upgrade in 2012. However, inconsistencies definitely persist. You might still see the same university listed differently depending on the publisher or maybe editorial preferences. Al-Quds University, Palestine in one place, and Al-Quds University, East Jerusalem, West Bank in another. It really highlights how geopolitics can influence something that seems like it should be straightforward, like an academic affiliation.
It's a powerful reminder, isn't it, that even in the supposedly objective world of science, politics plays a significant role. And these inconsistencies, they probably lead to more tangible problems, right? Like exclusion.
Precisely. Yeah. Beyond just the naming issues, there have been clear instances of actual institutional exclusion and derecognition. A big issue has been the frequent omission of Palestine from official country lists and submission systems and databases. Until relatively recently, many conference websites, journal submission portals, they simply didn't include Palestine as an option. And this wasn't always just an oversight. Sometimes it reflected a deliberate policy of non-recognition, often influenced by political stances, like the U.S. government's policy. Even when Palestine was included, it often came with those qualifiers we mentioned, like the Idorium journals example.
And this lack of consistent recognition, it's had a real impact on even being able to track and understand the scope of Palestinian scholarship.
Absolutely. Earlier attempts to quantify Palestinian research really struggled because of this inconsistent and missing data. That 2013 analysis of Palestinian medical research we mentioned is a prime example. The researchers found a significant number of publications from Palestinian institutions were wrongly attributed to Israel because of how journals reported things. And the researchers themselves noted their figures were likely an underestimation because of this misattribution. This lack of proper recognition, it diminishes the visibility of Palestinian scholarship globally. And you can imagine how demoralizing that is for the academics. There were even documented cases of researchers saying they were forced to register under Israel or just unlisted in journal systems.
It sounds like simply trying to engage with the global scientific community has been this constant uphill battle.
It really has. Even joining international academic organizations presented challenges. Before Palestine got into UNESCO in 2011, the Palestine Academy for Science and Technology, PALEST, they faced difficulties joining global science networks that required members to represent a recognized country. So Palestine's admission to UNESCO was a really significant step towards greater inclusion. It helped normalize their participation. However, political pressures can still cause setbacks, things like funding cuts or boycotts targeting Palestinian academic programs. So while we are seeing more explicit acknowledgement now by major journals that historical legacy of exclusion, it still affects publication records and databases. Researchers like Walid Swaila and his colleagues are doing important work trying to fix these past omissions, recover those missing publications, and thankfully, modern databases like Scopus show a much better approach now.
Okay, so moving beyond these significant recognition issues, the everyday realities of actually living and working under occupation must present their own immense set of barriers for researchers.
Oh, absolutely. The material and structural barriers imposed by the Israeli occupation have a profound impact. Decades of military control, movement restrictions, ongoing conflict. It's created an exceptionally challenging environment. The most immediate barrier is just the severe restriction on movement. Palestinian academics often face huge difficulties traveling to international conferences or even just accessing libraries in other Palestinian cities or collaborating with colleagues maybe just a few miles away. The fragmentation of the West Bank by checkpoints, the long-standing blockade of Gaza, as highlighted in that Nature editorial, they effectively prevent free movement, both within and out of the territories. Basic academic collaborations that, many of us take for granted are simply unattainable for many Palestinian scholars.
And it's not just moving people. Getting the necessary tools and materials for research must also be incredibly difficult.
Precisely. Cutting-edge research needs specialized equipment, supplies. But Israel's control over goods entering the Palestinian territories often means crucial research materials get blocked or significantly delayed. Lab equipment, chemical reagents, even academic books can be held up at borders for ages if they're allowed in at all. On top of that, Palestinian universities grapple with chronic underfunding, limited access to external research grants. As Nature put it very bluntly, money for research from any source is at best a pittance. This persistent underinvestment means facilities are often inadequate, and sustaining robust research programs is just incredibly difficult.
The situation in Gaza, given the blockade, must be particularly acute.
It is indeed. The isolation of Gaza is extreme. It affects the most basic things for daily life, which obviously impacts research. Reliable electricity, access to clean water, these aren't guaranteed. It creates this incredibly unstable environment for any scientific work. Frequent, long power outages, often most of the day, make it so hard to run lab instruments or even just keep samples preserved. That anecdote from Nature about the physicist at the Islamic University of Gaza using a recycled truck battery to power her laptop for a whole day, it just exemplifies the extraordinary resourcefulness that comes out of necessity. Internet connectivity, too, which is so vital now, is also frequently disrupted in Gaza, further isolating academics.
And beyond those logistical nightmares, there's the direct, devastating impact of the recurrent violence.
Yes. The periodic conflicts, military incursions, they've directly damaged educational institutions, university buildings, vital labs, especially in Gaza. A letter in The Lancet in 2024 described a systematic erasure of Palestinian science. This includes imprisonment or killing of academics and students, destruction of institutions, deprivation of resources. University campuses have been shelled, even used as temporary military zones. These conditions create an environment of fear, profound instability. It's just fundamentally incompatible with sustained scholarly work.
And beyond the immediate physical dangers, I understand there are also significant administrative hurdles.
That's right. The Israeli authorities impose various administrative barriers that hinder academic growth. For instance, limitations on visas for foreign academics make it hard for Palestinian universities to recruit international faculty or host visiting professors who could bring crucial expertise. Recent policies have even set caps on the number of foreign scholars allowed to teach in the West Bank and severely limited how long they can stay. This really impacts programs, especially in science and medicine, that often rely on that international input. Plus, there have been reports of restrictions on teaching subjects deemed sensitive, which limits academic freedom, hinders the free exchange of ideas. So what you see is this really complex web of constraints, physical, financial, psychological, creating a huge material disparity. It makes doing high-level research for top international journals extraordinarily difficult simply due to the lack of basic funding and infrastructure.
It paints a truly challenging picture. And yet, despite all these formidable obstacles, Palestinian academics haven't just persevered, they've continued to make significant contributions. It's quite a testament to their dedication.
It truly is remarkable. Despite these immense barriers, the scientific spirit endures, as they say, within Palestine. There are countless examples of this unwavering commitment. That 2025 Nature feature on Gaza scientists highlighted their profound dedication to education, to knowledge, even amidst the ruins of university buildings. During the 2023 conflict, faculty at the Islamic University of Gaza ingeniously organized makeshift online classes, a form of resistance, really ensuring education continued. This kind of dedication, often facing significant personal risk, it has garnered international admiration.
And it's not just individual acts of resilience, there's also been a tangible increase in scholarly output over recent years, hasn't there?
Yes, absolutely. Defying the odds, Palestinian researchers have steadily increased their output over the past 2 decades. Publication data clearly shows this upward trend. For instance, in medicine and life sciences, the annual number of publications quadrupled between 2002 and 2011. This coincided with more opportunities for international collaboration and the growth of graduate education within Palestinian universities. By 2020, Palestinian researchers were authoring over 1,000 scientific papers annually. According to Scopus, Palestine produced over 1,200 citable documents that year. That puts their output on a similar level to countries like Costa Rica or Uganda. And when you consider the incredibly challenging context, this level of output is a truly significant achievement. Each publication probably represents overcoming numerous obstacles.
And they've also shown remarkable creativity and resourcefulness in working around the limitations imposed on them.
Absolutely. Resilience has been actively built through networks and innovation. When physical mobility is restricted, virtual connection becomes vital. The Palestine Academy for Science and Technology, PALOST, has played a key role here, mitigating isolation by leveraging the diaspora's resources and using online platforms. Their Science Explore program, used during COVID and conflicts, where expatriate scientists gave virtual lectures, that's a powerful example. There's also been crucial support from foreign universities granting temporary access to their digital libraries. One Gazan scientist described it as a chance to binge read. And locally, there's incredible resourcefulness in labs. Engineering students in Gaza repurposing materials, developing low-cost ventilators. Dr. Hala El-Khozandar's truck battery, again, is such a potent symbol of that ingenuity.
It sounds like a lot of the research is also focused directly on addressing the specific pressing needs of Palestinians in their situation.
That's precisely right. There's a strong emphasis on locally relevant research. Things addressing immediate challenges, like water purification, renewable energy solutions for communities, understanding and tackling mental health issues in the context of conflict. This crucial work often gets published in regional journals, but it's increasingly finding its way into international ones, too. Furthermore, Palestinian scholars have actively sought international collaborations across many fields. This leads to co-authored papers in high-impact journals like The Lancet, focusing on critical public health issues, which brings global attention to conditions in Palestine. And we are seeing growing recognition from major journals, Nature, Science, The Lancet, BMJ, through editorials and reports highlighting both the challenges and the remarkable contributions. Stories of doctors managing hospitals under bombardment, crucial research on climate change impacts in the West Bank.
So, to sort of summarize our deep dive today, we've explored this long-standing commitment to scholarship in Palestine, the immense multifaceted challenges from recognition issues in the occupation, and the truly remarkable resilience and ongoing contributions of Palestinian academics despite it all.
Exactly. It's clear that, the pursuit of science isn't immune to politics, as we saw with the inconsistent recognition. But what really stands out is the sheer ingenuity and unwavering perseverance shown by these scholars, navigating huge material and structural barriers. And while there is growing acknowledgement internationally, there's still, progress to be made.
It certainly leaves you thinking about the wider implications.
It does indeed. This look at Palestinian scholarship raises a pretty significant question for us all to consider. What are the broader global consequences when scientific potential is stifled like this? What gets lost when equitable access and recognition in the pursuit of knowledge aren't universally guaranteed? It kind of prompts us to reflect on how, in certain contexts, the very act of pursuing knowledge, of contributing scientifically, can itself be a profound act of resistance and a powerful affirmation of identity.